And I'm thinking of the movie Candyman and Candyman Part 2. I did recently start watching Part 2, and I thought to myself, since I've watched this movie several times, that this time I'll discuss it. So, here's an additional discussion of Candyman 2 with mentions of 1. Okay, so I think last night's live I did mention that these two movies and whether or not I didn't know whether the author mentioned Helen. Okay, so this is an update from there. I did look at a movie explained from Horror Minds on the first one, the first movie. Um, because I was trying to get back to that scene, that dinner scene. And in that dinner scene, the author says that Robitaille's father, like, made an invention that made shoes. In his book signing, does he doesn't mention that. So I did go back to part 2 and look and see if he mentioned Helen as his friend, as him knowing her. And he does not. He just speaks of her like she's just some woman that he heard about, rather than speaking like, hey, this was my friend's wife. So in the first one, from Horror Minds, I didn't get to rewatch the first one to see that scene myself recently. Horror Mind does a detail of a scan of the movie, and he says that the author is a friend of Helen's husband. So that's how they got to the table together. And they had that table scene where they were eating, smoking, talking about the myth, because she wanted to do a better paper than the author in the second movie. Her and her friend, what was her friend name? De- Deborah or Bernadette. Her name is Bernadette. So her and Bernadette, which Bernadette was going along for the ride. She didn't really want to go down this rabbit hole, but that was her friend, and she, but anyways, like, okay, so Helen wanted their paper to be better than her husband's friend's paper. That was in part 1. Okay, and in part 2, the author of, her husband, the friend of her husband, he mentions her. He has a slide of the paper. He tells the story about what happened up to a certain part. Yeah, he tells the barn fire scene. I think hold on, I might be getting something mixed up. I think he tells the bonfire scene. I think. Okay, he mentions her. He mentions her. He says like this. He says like, "Oh, this woman." He don't say woman, but he says her name, but not like he knows her like a friend. Like he didn't mention like, "Oh, she was trying to write a better paper." Well, he did say like she got like caught up into the myth and things like that. So that's as far as he goes with that information. Now, from what happened at the end of the movie, from the beginning, the first movie, he should have told that. Like the end of the movie, spoiler alert. Um, his friend calls her name. Now he might not know that part, but what he does know is that his friend was found a certain kind of way in relations to how people are found in relations to Candyman. So he should have known that because that was his friend. The husband was his friend, and the husband was found some kind of way, like in relation to how anybody else is found when they've said the name. So I don't know. I'm trying to think on the fly, like how he wouldn't know what happened to his friend. Like I'm trying to get him out. Like maybe he was out of town because he's an author. Maybe he was in another country. But that was his friend that they had just sat and ate dinner with and things like that. And they was talking about the myth and the legend and all that. And then his friend at the end of the movie was found that way. And then, okay, now, part two, he's an author of this book titled Candyman with a metallic cover, supposedly like a mirror, because he does use it as a mirror to call his name 5 times. And he's written these reports, he's written this book, and he's never said the name. His friend was found the way he was found. Helen went through what she went through, trying to make a better report than him. And he acts like none of that happened. Like, if somebody asked him, do you believe in the myth? Do you believe in the legend? Like, do you believe in the myth? Well, what he does know is, like, 2 people that were close to him wound up in a tragic situation. So if anything, it would be an epidemic, right? Like don't go there. Like, but he acting like he don't know. He ain't got proof. He ain't got evidence that the myth could possibly be true. Like he not saying yay or nay. Well, no, he did say no. He said no. He said no. He don't believe in the myth. But you got like red flag signs and neon signs that says otherwise. And then one of the characters, um, wanted to talk to him, I guess. He was kind of being weird with how he wanted to talk to the man. Like he left early because I guess he was scared. I don't know. And then when he goes up to the author thinks he wants his book signed. And I don't think the man wanted his book signed, but he did. He signed it. And then he was like, "Yeah, my father came to you for help. And then this, that, and the third happened to my father." And then he's like, "Yo, daddy." Spoiler alert. He was like, "Yo, daddy crazy." And then the dude like gets offended, and then the author is like, "You crazy just like your daddy." But there's some more evidence right there that whenever somebody does research, I mean, you could just conclude to that. Like whenever somebody does research on this topic, it doesn't go well. So why wouldn't you believe I don't get it, and I don't know what his book is about. That he wouldn't say he doesn't believe the myth. Like, what is your book about? You not believing the myth? Okay. I'm like, what is the book about? It's just all about you not believing? I mean, you hadn't said that you wrote about your friend's incident, you wrote about his wife's incident. I kind of want to know what's in that book. Like, what is in that book you carrying around that you selling? If you don't believe, then you got the son of the man coming up to you saying that his father asked you for help on the topic. Then he went and researched it. Then he turned up, um, I want to say, growing the gullet. He ended up like that. And you walking around with a book under your hand, you selling, talking about you don't believe it. Okay, fine and dandy, but what is your book about? Like, is it about these people? Is it the history that happened to this man? And, okay, let me hop off of that. And also point out that he kept saying that Robitaille died for love. And he says that a few times. That's kind of why it, like, got my attention. And I'm like, no, that man did not. He was off. Okay? I mean, like, it wasn't in his hands that he's deleted for love. He's deleted for love. I'm like, no. These people did that. Like, these. And then when I think of the people that did it, I think of how they are the monsters and not him. He's considered the monster, the antagonist of the movie. Everybody's scared of him. And I'm like, he wasn't the one to be scared of. Um, it is supposed to be a love story, this movie, a gothic love story. To say that he died for love, though, I think, I don't know. I want to say that ain't right. That's not right because he was offed by a mob. I mean, it wasn't like he had options to be off by something else. Like, Alright. When I listened to back to how the author was describing how Robitaille was commissioned to capture this man's daughter's virginal essence through a painting, through a portrait. I'm like, Robitaille just showed that virginal essence wasn't even there to be captured in a painting. I was just like, he saw something else. You know, the artists always bring out the truth. Like, yeah, no. Well, I got a little tickle out of that I see in the movie with my commentary.